feel under attack. A spiritual attack.
Hello, magical salarymen. You want to play a warlock? You want to wield powers far beyond anything you could imagine? You want a taste of Cthulhu? No, not like that. You want to cast Eldritch Blast for the 8th turn in a row and then immediately complain to the rest of the party that you would like to take your 6th short rest of the day? No, not like that. Well, yeah, honestly kind of like that. Then you're in the right place. This is an analysis of the warlock class in D&D. We're gonna take a hard, long look at the warlock from a game design perspective. We're gonna analyze every single one of its subclasses, see what makes the warlock tick, and what this class brings both in and out of combat. And you're getting a whole new subclass for 100% free with a never-before-seen mechanic based on a very much seen before concept. Welcome to everything you need to know about the D&D Warlock. Warlocks are all about taking the tragic backstory and making it a tragic front story, and then they go all like... As I said, this is an analysis, an essay, if you will. I want to make this the video for those of you on your 8th backstory-ridden edgelord bow, and for those of you staring down that enticing warlock road, ready to make your first lock. We're going deep. First, we're gonna talk overview of the class, then we're taking a look at every single subclass, and then we're making our own. Sounds good? Good, because boy was this an insane amount of work. Look at that runtime. I did not come here to play. I came here to win. Okay, let's go. 1. What is a warlock made of? Back on the number list horse and back on the cooking horse. I'm nothing if not predictable. Okay, what are the game design building blocks of the warlock class? Well, the first step on our warlock gumbo, sure, the gumbo of unknowable eldritch power. On this channel, food metaphors go brrr. The first gumbo step for the warlock class is the game design concept of a build. I know there's a subsect of warlock players in the audience that are about to hear a whole lot about game design stuff and be like, this is not why I play warlocks. And to you I say, I know, I'm building up to it. Let me cook. Anyway, one look at the warlock and you see it. This hooded spooky cultist is made for hero building. You see this a lot in MOBAs like Dota 2, Heroes of the Storm, and the scary one. Although it's been creeping into hero shooters like Overwatch and the beautiful marriage of the two that is deadlocked that I still can't play, Valve, let me in. Hero building, or loadouts, or whatever you want to call it, is about building a character. You could say this is true for every D&D class, and I know you did just that, Kevin. I know you wrote that comment just now. And yes, Kevin, in a way, you're right, because these mechanics originally came from RPGs. What sets the Warlock apart is the amount of customizability. Warlocks are the core class with the highest amount of customizability in builds. You can make a case that Blood Hunters are also up there, but that's not a core class. Normal D&D classes ask you to choose spells, if that, a subclass, a background, and that's kind of it. You have your character. Warlocks asks you to choose all of those and then asks you to make about 7 other choices to make your warlock. This is why I say they're about hero building. But who are they made for? Who is this for? Well, build crafters, of course. These are players that absolutely love the process of making these choices. But most importantly, they love figuring out the interactions between these choices. Some people flatten this out to min-maxing, and I think that's reductionist and bad and dismissive of the fun of these players. I like to imagine players that get their fun this way like clockmakers or steampunky inventors. They carefully choose every single little piece. They consider how each of these little pieces fit into each other, and the dopamine hits when they turn their little robot on and it does exactly what they thought it would. And then they disassemble it and find another combination that does the same thing but even better, or a widely different thing. This whole hero building theme warlocks have going on directly leads into the second ingredient of our Eldritch Gumbo, multiclassing. Multiclassing is when your D&D character has levels in 2 or more classes. In D&D, your character gains 20 levels and that's it. But each of those levels is associated with the class you were when you leveled up. So you could have like 15 of those levels in one class and 5 of those in another. And that's multiclassing, baby. If you've heard terms like Lockadin, that's Warlock and Paladin. Sorlock, that's Sorcerer and Warlock. Bardlock, Bard plus Warlock. Notice something? Warlock comes up a lot in these, huh? Warlocks feel like they were made for multiclassing, to a point where pure Warlocks feel strangely boring to play to many people. But hold on. Why? How is a warlock more for multiclassing than others? Well, normally people don't multiclass casters, or rather they multiclass them very little, because very high level spells are just too strong to give up. Multiclass a wizard enough and say goodbye to ever be able to cast Wish. Wish, the best spell in the game. Marshals may multiclass into spellcasters for very specific reasons, but you will rarely see spellcaster multiclassing in something else for more than like 2 levels. But here's the thing, warlocks just never get spells higher than 5th level, and they learn to cast cast 5th level spells at level 9. That basically gives you 11 levels to play around with for multi-class potential if you're going for the highest spell slot imaginable. But this is not the biggest reason for Warlocks to be built for multi-classing. Nay. The biggest reason is those choices we just talked about.
Choices.
Warlocks are what I called a front-loaded class, a top-heavy class, an apple-shaped class, if you will. Most of those juicy choices come extremely early for the Warlock, and more so before 2024 when they got their subclass at level 1. This means that dipping into Warlock is extremely powerful. Dipping is yet another game design term. You guys said you like the game design stuff. Anyway, it means getting very few levels in a class so you can grab some key abilities and then just leave. Dip into Wizard and you get nothing, basically. Wizard is like the anti-Warlock in that it's just so bad at multi-classing. There are builds out there, but like the common wisdom is don't multi-class Wizard. There's someone right now in the comments telling you that it's actually really good, and just don't listen to the man in the Wizard multi-classing white van. If you go talk to them, he's gonna take you to the Reddit theory crafting land. Dip into Warlock though, you get a lot. Oh boy, do you get a lot. But what exactly? Well, believe me, we'll get to that. It's a full analysis after all. But I gotta address something. So let's pin that question on our board for later. We've looked at the game design components present here in this overview of the class a whole lot. We know what the Warlocks are made of. And yet, I keep glancing at a bunch of Warlock players sitting in front of their computers, arms crossed and seemingly very upset. They're all saying, well, I love Warlocks and I hate all of this. This is not why I play Warlocks at all. And plot twist. I know. That's our next gumbo ingredient. Number 2, NaNoWriMo, the class. Ingredient number 3 in our chicken and sausage and okra and Cthulhu gumbo is the roleplay component. Some of you that are fans of the class might have not seen yourself represented in the previous ingredients, and I can see why. But here's the thing, I think the way that the Warlock class approaches character building from a gameplay perspective is actually extremely similar to the way it approaches it from a narrative perspective. A lot of players gravitate to the Warlock for the roleplay and narrative character building opportunities it gives, which are unmatched. There's just no D&D class that gives you what the Warlock gives you, or as much as the Warlock gives you narrative-wise. There just isn't. Warlocks, this is a weird time in the video to define this, it's just a very long video. Warlocks have made a pact with an extremely powerful being to get their magical powers. That's how Warlocks can use magic. And that's why Warlocks don't get the spellcasting ability, but rather pact magic. And why their spellcasting is so weird. This setup, common to all Warlocks, is the key to the third gumbo ingredient, writing prompts. Some D&D classes give you like one writing prompt. Why do you follow your oath? Why do you speak for the trees? Why are you annoying? Why did you choose this one? Warlocks though? Warlocks sit you down and ask you like 7 of these. To create a Warlock character from a narrative standpoint, you have to sit down and decide. Who is your patron? How did you two meet? Why did you decide to sign a pact with them? What does your patron ask of you in exchange for your powers? What is your relationship with your patron? And you know what all of these are? Yes, writing prompts. But do you know what these are also? Choices. Just like the choices that the goblins with the spreadsheets that are into build crafting love. The narrative lovers and the build crafting lovers are two sides of the same coin, and the Warlock's class design ends up being extremely cohesive from a game design perspective in a way I really like. It caters to both of these through choices. These writing prompts basically guide you to make a compelling character in a way that no other class does. But they do something more. They give tools for your DM to integrate you directly into the story. Your DM can use your patron in-game, or rather your DM should really use your patron in-game. They should use your pact both for and against you. They should let you meet other Warlocks that are for or against your patron. The Warlock class is a treasure trove of options that a DM can plug from to make their game compelling for the Warlock player, to cater to them. I never ever find myself having a hard time putting stuff in my games that appeal to the Warlock. There's just so much to choose from. Okay, so we have our first 3 ingredients: build crafting, multi-classing, and narrative prompts. What does that even look like at the table though? What is it like to actually play? Whatever happens if you mix those 3 together. Number 3, how does it play actually really? Simple, press B to board lock. That's it, we're done. Just kidding. I hate when YouTubers make that joke and then they make you sit through like 5 seconds of their Patreon scroll. I don't even have a Patreon to scroll through. I haven't even asked you to subscribe yet. I'm just bad at YouTube in general. Anyway, how does a Warlock get down at the table? D&D has a very strange distinction between their spellcasters by modern game standards. Nowadays, games with several spellcasters will base their different spellcasting classes on a general theme for the spells themselves. This is the AoE guy. This is the single target damage guy. This is the healing and buffing guy. This is the crowd control and and debuff guy. And D&D doesn't do that. I guess you could like stretch it enough to say that wizards can't heal, but like every single other spellcasting can heal, so what is the class division here? Wizard and not a wizard? Bards are slightly more into crowd control than the rest, but not exclusively. It's just not how D&D actually distinguishes its spellcasting classes. And yet, a distinction is very much there. And the Warlock is extremely distinct. D&D distinguishes their spellcasters by how they cast those spells. I actually really like this, because it influences how each of them play way more. So, how does a Warlock cast? Well, Warlocks have Pact Magic, as I said, and Pact Magic messes with every single aspect of how a Warlock casts magic. They get an insanely low number of spell slots, ever so slightly higher in 2024, thank God, but still super low. They make up for this in two ways. One is that they get their spell slots back on a short rest, as opposed to the long rest of other classes. I've talked about this before, but this to me is a design oversight that I wish 2024 had fixed. We just do not short rest as much as the designers thought we would when 5e was designed. Short resting takes too long, it halts the action too abruptly, and all classes do not rely on it as much as Warlock does. With the updates to Monk, much needed by the way, sorely needed, the new 2024 Monk is amazing, Warlocks are lonelier and lonelier in the begging for a short rest club. As I said, 2024 upped the number of spell slots, but not nearly enough to mitigate this. If you have a Warlock at your table, consider dropping short rest down to 30 minutes. But that's not the only thing about Pact Magic that makes it different from the regular spellcasting. Pact Magic forces the Warlock to cast at the highest possible spell slot they have. This is a fun stipulation. Narratively, it matches the vibe. You are giving insane amounts of power that straight up do not belong to you. It makes sense that you're just not great at controlling it. The moment you let your sugar daddy's magic powers come out, it's from 0 to 60 in 3.5. The combo of little to no spell slots and always highest spell slot level actually influences your Warlock spell picks an insane amount. To get the most out of your Warlock, you want to pick spells that get stronger when cast at higher level, or, ideally and, have an ongoing effect. Every single iconic Warlock spell follows one of these two, or both of these two, because that's how you squeeze the most juice out of the Warlock's weird lumpy fruit of evil. This food metaphor is escaping me. Armor of Agatha is both of these. Hunger of Hadar is an ongoing effect. Witchbolt is also both of these, and damn near all summon spells are also both. That's the kind of spell you want to cast when you're rummaging through the lint and button and the 2 spell slots you get when you're going through your pockets as a Warlock. But it would be a mistake to not talk about cantrip. Warlock has very powerful cantrip. They use cantrip all the time, actually, because of their very limited spell use. They are really all about cantrip. What's that? Oh, yes, cantrip. Singular. Warlocks like to pretend they have more than one, but there's only one cantrip that matters to this class. Warlocks get the most powerful damaging cantrip in the game. Eldritch Blast works differently to every single other cantrip because it makes you roll different attack rolls every time it goes up in power. And the Warlock's Build-A-Bear approach to subclass making ensures you make your Eldritch Blast even more powerful than it is. I think that Warlocks being so prone to tripping into a multi-class build is because of just how much they rely on Eldritch Blast, among the other reasons I already listed. You will cast Eldritch Blast. You will probably cast Eldritch Blast every turn. When it comes time to pick invocations, you will most likely pick the ones that make it bigger and better. If you hate the idea of your turn being about doing the same thing over and over again, Warlock is just not for you. Or rather, vanilla Warlock isn't for you. Consider multiclassing to give you something else to do. Or pick a certain subclass. We'll talk about it. Anyway, I talked about this long enough in my other Warlock video. I don't want to leave roleplay behind. When people make these class overviews, I often think that they rarely mention how a class plays outside of combat, and that's wild to me because that's a massive part of the game I run, and I venture to say most games, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but like we know that people are barely playing dungeon crawls anymore. Anyway, roleplay and narrative-wise, the Warlock is sort of a trustful disguise as a class. To me, it's an exercise in blind faith on your DM. By picking this class, you have just painted a massive target on your back that says, here's my massive glaring weakness that you, the DM, get to exploit. The fact that you have made this pact with a powerful patron and now you are beholden to their will is awesome. It creates incredible story opportunities, it gives the DM so much to play with, and it wrestles control away from you a lot. If you're a control freak, if you're not down for your character to be twisted and turned 7 different ways till Sunday, if you need your character to have full agency over their choices at all times forever, I'll go so far as to say that Warlock is the wrong class for you, period. Don't play this, you're not gonna have a good time. Warlock is about giving a loaded gun to the DM and saying, use this to hurt me for fun. Warlock is commitment to telling a story with ups and also many downs. You can influence the story, you can have conversations with your DM as to how you see the broad strokes of it going, but ultimately you're only in the driver's seat insofar as how much your patron will let you get away with. Type A people generally don't do well with Warlock, and I would know, I'm as Type A as they come. Except this means nothing, because Warlock is one of the classes, if not the class, most influenced by its subclasses, narratively. So what if I go through every single one of them, and what a better topic for me, an incredibly powerful arcane being, to use my own servant, just to show you how it's done, of course. Human familiar!
Human familiar!
I didn't even sign a contract. This sucks. Number 4, pick a patron. Subclass deep dive. I'm like 3 listicles away from making a why I left BuzzFeed video. Anyway, the hat said analysis and he said thorough, so you're getting every official subclass. We're gonna rank them in our very mathematical, very objectivical, scientifical objectivical. We're gonna rank them in our very mathematical, very scientifical, very objectivical system of good or goof. Now that we have 2024 versions, these will be the most updated versions of each subclass whenever that applies, and expect a flyover view of them. We're not doing ability by ability breakdown. Look how long this video already is. And we're ignoring UA, whatever, let's go. A, the Archfey. A for Archfey. I don't know what it says about me that I get excited about that. Play Archfey if your fun at the table is directly correlated to how much you can annoy your DM. You can have a hag be your patron with this one, an arch hag, so you know, I'll try to not be biased, but I'm only human.
I'm only human.
Familiar. Real talk, Archfey used to not be the best before 2024. It is now better and also weirder, which I guess matches the Fey vibe. Nearly their whole spell list is like charms and illusions, very Fey, and most have an ongoing effect. The exception being Misty Step, which in theory would be a perfect example of a spell a warlock should not take. Does not scale in levels and ends immediately. It would be burning a spell slot for nothing. And once again, for 99% of your playtime, you get 2 of these. And this would be true for the Archfey Warlock if they hadn't built the entire subclass around it. That's right. This is the mobility subclass. I've been noticing that we're getting more and more of these. Foreshadowing for a thing that I cannot talk about yet. It's the Sonic the Hedgehog Warlock. Mobility subclasses are subclasses that are based around how your character moves and most often how much your character can move. If you're familiar with the features of the Eladrin, this is the Eladrin if it was a subclass, which once again fits with Archfey. You get to Misty Step for free for a number of times, and that number of times will be 5. Very quick. When you teleport to someone, or behind someone, nothing personnel, you also add an effect. And these range from soothing healing wave for you and your friends, or disappearing in a puff of glitter, like the tricksy fairy you are.
She was a fairy.
Or inflict fear upon the hearts of your enemies. Once again, very Fey. There's also, for some reason, a taunt, like an honest-to-God compel dual tanking feature. A taunt is an ability that directs an enemy to attack you and no one else. That's why it's a tanking feature. Watch my rogue analysis, I talk about it there in way more detail. This initially made no sense to me because it's not like the class gives you extra survivability, but then I thought of it a little more. This is Swashbuckler. You're meant to bamf in with Misty Step, taunt, get out, and now whoever you taunted cannot hit anyone, including you, because you're too far away, because you bamfed away. It's awful, it's annoying, it's really mean to your DM. I love it. It's definitely fun and very mobile. For how reliant this subclass is on Misty Step is still a little bit concerning to me. I would have to try this. And also, Tinkerbell, this subclass does not have hands. You have 1 damaging ability. 1. And it's good, but it's not great, and it consumes a spell slot if you want to use it more than once. This unfortunately means that Archfey is gonna have you casting Eldritch Blast every single turn like nobody's business. It's not as bad as it could be though. Misty Step will have you worrying about positioning, like where exactly on the map you are, which makes it way more exciting and does make it like an ever-changing thing turn per turn. Way more different than your regular Warlock that will just cast Eldritch Blast and that's it. All in all, and factoring in Archhack potential, because I have to, the Archfey Warlock gets a rating of good. Number B, the Celestial. Play Celestial if you have a vendetta against clerics. From weird to weirder, your patron is a Celestial, a very powerful Celestial, akin to a god, some might say. You worship it and do its bidding. How is this different from cleric, you ask? Moving on. See, one thing you need to understand about D&D is that at its core, it's about reminding wizards about the one thing they cannot do, and that is healing. Every spellcasting class must get a healing subclass to dunk on wizards. It's just the rules of D&D. And this one is the Warlocks. Celestial was considered one of the worst Warlock subclasses in 2014, and then it got an update. Does it fix it? So the biggest problem with the healing warlock is that warlocks do not work well with the concept of healing. Not flavor-wise, they could, but mechanically. Remember the thing we said? The thing of, like, what makes a spell a good warlock spell? Ongoing effect, goes up in levels. Healing technically does that, but it really doesn't. And the fact that the warlock has like no spell slots really doesn't work with healing. This reason is why the celestial warlock heals through a pool of dice, kind of like the paladin, and not through spell slots, like just casting cure wounds. It can, don't do it. A waste of spell. The dice thing is a ton of healing. It basically makes it so like 90% of the time, you never had to use a spell slot to heal. The 2024 update on paper has changed basically nothing, but that's on paper. There's one thing that changes everything for the Celestial Warlock, and it's actually in the Warlock itself, like the class, not the subclass. Remember all those invocations that you can tack on to Eldritch Blast to make it stronger? In 2024, you can add those invocations to any damaging cantrip. And the Celestial Warlock really wants you to use Sacred Flame. It wants you to use Sacred Flame so bad. It has a whole ability to power it up, along with like any spell that does radiant or fire damage. So, is that ability enough to replace Eldritch Blast? Okay, enough. The answer is no. No, it doesn't. Eldritch Blast is just too powerful a cantrip to ever be replaced, even with one ability that makes another cantrip better than it normally is. It's not even the damage. It is the damage, but it's not even the damage. It's just the several hits as you go up in levels. That's it. Every cantrip lost when you could do that. I guess it does give Sacred Flame a very specific niche. If you're fighting a high AC, low dex creature, then yes, maybe Sacred Flame would be a better one, since Sacred Flame asks of the creature to make a dex save and it ignores AC. Bottom line, 2024 one is better. I just do not understand what would compel you to pick this other than Cleric. Like, is it a personal thing? Unless you're going for like a super specific narrative concept, in which case you probably don't care about this. So, regrettably, Celestial gets a Pointy Hat rating of Goof. Number C, the Fathomless. Play Fathomless if you wish that every episode was the Beach episode. A rarer subclass type, the Beachy subclass.
What if there's beach? You'll need someone who's a professional in that.
The Warlock of the Coast, if you will.
You need to leave!
Fathomless has you make a pact with a wet thing. It could be a kraken, it could be a merid, it could be the inherent eroticism of the sea. Maybe you're shipwrecked and you made a desperate pact while drowning with something of the sea just to live. That's sick. Maybe you're a cool pirate. That's even sicker. Anyway, the water type subclass, which is a subclass type, is seldom seen because it rarely works. But I would say that the Fathomless is like one of the ones that works the best in this subclass type. So let's take a look. Instead of giving you an actually usable spell list, seriously, their spells are atrocious. It gives you a tentacle that you can control and do a ton of things with. Do not make this weird. The tentacle does everything you want it to do. Stop it. It stays for a long time in combat. It hits hard. It gets stronger as you get more abilities for it. And it reaches its climax. I said stop it. With a capstone of its own. A capstone for the tentacle. Overall, it's really solid. And then the jank of the water type subclass starts to set in. This coming up is why they rarely work. You certainly get water themed abilities, and they're certainly useful when you're in water. That is just not happening in campaigns. Not often. It just is not. Underwater levels suck in video games, and they suck in D&D. Nobody likes the Little Mermaid world. Subclasses that have a ton of options that require you to be in water or close to water or about to take an everything shower are always situational. As I said, the Fathomless is not nearly as bad as it could be. There are way worse wet subclasses, but it's enough that if I wanted to play this, I would ask my DM if they plan to include a lot of water park excursions before I choose this. So overall, the Fathomless gets a Pointy Hat rating of good, with a drippy situational asterisk. D, the Fiend. Play the Fiend if you're bad at making choices in real life and you want to keep that tradition going into the game. All right, children, ready to sell your souls to Satan for a potato chip? This is it. This is the prototypical Warlock subclass. It's also the one that makes people assume that every single Warlock pact involves selling your soul to someone. That's not true. It's just true most of the time, and like 99% of the time if your sulfur daddy of choice is the devil from the Bible. I feel like in my head, the Fiend feels like it should be a blaster. Blaster. Game design word again. How many have we said already? Are we gonna beat rogues in terms of how many game design terms can we explain in one video? Stay tuned. A blaster is used to refer to spellcasting classes or subclasses that are good at one thing and one thing only, or at least focus on that one thing. And that one thing is... But here's the thing, Fiend is way more of a tank than nearly every Warlock subclass. It gets temp HP with a Bag of Rats ability. Bag of Rats ability, game design term, I'm on a roll. I believe it's an exclusive to D&D because of the name, and it's an ability that triggers every time you bring something to 0 HP. The problem with Bag of Rats abilities is that whatever is brought down to 0 HP is clearly intended to be a monster that you fight, but there's often nothing or very little in the text of the ability that stops you from just becoming a hobbyist rat catcher and doing bad things to them to get whatever the ability gives you.
The rats are all like this. The rat goes like this.
You made a deal with the devil. Are you gonna really draw the line at rats?
You give a man a rat, you satisfy his rat desire.
Anyway, 2024 updated this not to remove the Bag of Rats part of it, which I wish they did, but rather to stop the Warlock from kill stealing. Kill stealing, game design term. In games where slurs abound in voice chats all over the world, kill stealing is completely meaningless. But in actually good games, kill stealing is when you need to be the one that ends an enemy for an ability to occur. 2024 makes it so that if any of your friends, including you, does it, says bye-bye to the enemy, you also get the temp HP. This is good. Anyway, enough game design. Fiendish Patron gets a ton of survivability. Temp HP, resistance to a damage type, and you can change this damage type. They did get rid of the force damage resistance though. Good. Nothing should be resistant to force damage. You also get help with saving throws. It's so weirdly tanky. It's so tanky. And then you get your capstone. Is your capstone in line with the rest? Well, no. I've talked about this before. It is endlessly funny to me. The Fiend Patron subclass capstone is send someone directly to super hell, preferably after they confess their love. You get extra points for that. Trust me, don't check the subclass. Trust me, you had this ability before, that's why it's here. It's just funny. They nerfed the damage compared to 2014, but you can do this more often. It was just one time in 2014. So overall, buff. It's a ton of damage, sure, but the big thing about this is that it allows you to set up for like a whole turn. You have one whole turn to decide exactly what happens and what you will do once the person that you sent to super hell comes back. It's basically the banishment spell, but with extra damage. If you know anything about D&D, you know how powerful the banishment spell is. So I guess the Fiend is a tank with one nuke. Good. E, the Genie. Play Genie if you have a vendetta against playing a wizard. Okay, real talk. This one might be my favorite. Yes, even more than the hag one. You make a pact with a genie, a noble genie. Yes, there is a pretty big difference because noble genies in D&D can grant wishes. I have a whole video about it, collabed with an Arab creator friend to make new ones. Go check it out. Okay, so this is the spellcasting warlock. All warlocks are spellcasters, but this one is more. First of all, you get way more spells. You get your baseline genie ones, but then you get special spells depending on what genie you pick, depending on the Pokemon type of your patron. You get 1 of 4. You also get to empower any attack roll. Yes, Eldritch Blast included. And at Capstone, you just cast anything. You ask Pretty Please with sugar on top to your sugar daddy of choice, and they cast that spell for you. 6th level spell, which warlocks cannot cast. And it can be any spell, not just warlock spells. This is wild. It does have a big cooldown. Game design turn, but still, even with the big cooldown, really good ability. The meat of the subclass is really the picking of the genie. Picking your starter genie gives you a resistance, it influences the spells you have, it gives you an additional damage that you can deal. It's a whole lot, and it basically feels like a subclass within a subclass. Now, in terms of what genie to pick, there's not one correct choice. Pick whatever makes sense for you. There's really not one that is better. Pick Dow. Pick Dow. Dow is the best one. By far. Pick ground type. Best spell list, sure. But you also get resistance to bludgeoning. Your extra damage is bludgeoning. Resisting and dealing magical bludgeoning damage? It's not even a question. Pick Dow. Okay, I've gone long enough without addressing the best part of the subclass. So let's do that. You carry a little lamp around and you can go inside. Sometimes D&D delivers on a fantasy like halfway through. It feels like it's making a compromise. And sometimes it goes full in. And this is one of those times. And when it goes all out, It's so good. The lamp itself can look like anything. It doesn't even have to look like a lamp, but the inside is big, and the ability says that it has like cushions and low tables, like it's a lounge. Boho chic, portable studio apartment. And if you think this is just for flavor, like this is just for interior decorating in your fantasy game, think again. This is extremely powerful. You can hide from damage, you can stealth around, you can be very creative in many ways with this thing. And this is why it's amazing. This is why it's just plainly better than anything else. At level 10, it shortens short rests. Yes, you can bring your friends inside for like mint, tea, and vibes. You hang out for 10 minutes, and that's it. Short rest is done. 10-minute short rest. And everyone gets extra healing. Do you know how much this helps the warlock that needs short rest so bad, but it feels so bad to ask for an hour of pause? It's amazing. It's not even close. So, good. Surprise. And since we're talking about the genie and its little portable home, I'm immediately thinking about that cozy vibe that is so missing from D&D. Like that sort of magic in the regular mundane stuff of a fantasy world, and things in D&D that inspire that same sense of wonder and whimsy and calm and inner peace. And if I'm thinking of that, I'm thinking of Obojima. Obojima bust into the scene, grabbed everyone with its completely new take on D&D, and had an incredibly successful start. And apparently, it was just the start. That's right, baby. Obojima is back, and it's back with a brand new book that expands on everything that made it sing. But also, a brand new board game to access those cozy vibes in a completely different way, and an update to the first Obojima book to get it in line with the 2024 set of rules. That's right, more Obojima with the new book, Obojima Tales from Yaramon. It's an 130 plus page book that explores Obojima's biggest city, Yaramon. And this book can very much stand on its own. With its whole city exploration theme, it has shops, locations, brand new, very charming NPCs that I love the illustrations for a lot. But if you think that Tales from Yaramon is here to offer a very realized city and that's it, you're wrong. 3 new subclasses, 20 new spells, 20 new creatures, 10 magic items, backgrounds, feats, factions, vehicles, locations. This baby can hold so much stuff in it. That's the book. People pay me for this. What I really like about books like this is that you can start a whole new campaign based around everything on this book, but if you have an existing campaign, guess what? Your prep time is cut to like a third because you can take all this stuff and plop it into your existing campaign to add some of those Obojima vibes to an existing campaign that you're already running. And who doesn't want that? But as I said, that is not all. And another thing, Obojima has a brand new board game. It's called Yanari, the Witch's Market, and it takes place in this very same city. So if you get the city book, Tales from Yaramon, you can get the board game and kind of like have like a dual media experience. That sounds fun. And it's easy to learn. It says it takes 10 minutes to learn, which for some idiots, that is as much as they can take. But also, a 2024 update to Obojima with like a brand new layout, completely new reworked wording. It's great. And also, the perfect opportunity to grab Obojima if you didn't grab it before. Everyone did, but if you're not there, now is the time. And like really, now is the time. Obojima is on late pledges. It's the perfect time to get Obojima Tales from Yaramon, the brand new book, the board game Yanari and the Witch's Market, or the 2024 update to the original Obojima book. Or, dare I say, all 3. Should we be bad? We should totally be bad. I'll do it if you do it. Deal? Deal. You've signed the Warlock pack now. And speaking of, number F, the Great Old One. Play Goo if you like saying Gulock. I do. I feel like this is everyone's favorite, other than Hexblade. Once again, another common subclass type, the thinly veiled Lovecraft standee. You make a pact with something legally distinct from Cthulhu. I guess there's no longer a need for legal distinction. That sucker has been in the public domain for a minute now. Congrats. Gulock has the most unknowable of the sugar parents. Like, one of the options is for it to be so large and so like unknowable that it doesn't even register to it that you're its warlock. Like, it's not even aware of your existence. The fact that you're its warlock is just like a thing that happens around it. Don't pick this one if you want like conversations between you and your patron, because if you did that, your brain would leak out of your skull. I never really got Goo mechanically. It feels like an all-rounder to me, and I prefer subclasses that have a super distinct playstyle. It's not bad, it's just less defined, which I guess works for that patron. They got a 2024 update, it's an improvement. You get telepathy, better telepathy than the Scion, and you also get to use that telepathy offensively. They lost their one tanking feature for more offense, I like that better, and their spells are just a mix of crowd control and damage, which is good, although I don't like how many of them were already in the Warlock spell list. And also for 2024, they got a massive update to Hex, and more of a focus on psychic damage, like it's part of their theme now. It is very much the psychic damage subclass, down to like you changing the damage type of a spell to psychic, which is good because psychic is rarely ever resisted. Their capstone has also changed for the better, like objectively, it is now about 10 times stronger. Also, no more tentacles. Good. We're leaving tentacles to the fathomless. It is insane to me that we got 2 tentacle-themed subclasses for the same class. Warlocks are never beating the freak allegations. Although, wait, zoom in? That's a tentacle. That's a tentacle. They tried to pull one over on us. All in all, good. Pointy hat rating of good. It's not an enthusiastic good. It's just good. It's serviceable, it's fine. I think that people like the Lovecraft part more than the actual abilities part. Number G, the Hexblade. Play Hexblade if you show up to the table with the sole goal of aura farming. Now, this one is everyone's favorite, for sure. We've seen wet subclasses, we've seen face subclasses, we've seen Lovecraftian subclasses, and now it's time for a brand new and yet more and more common type of subclass. The anime subclass. Okay, I'm not even gonna pretend that I'm different. This is also my favorite to play, but I do have one pretty big critique that I feel like people gloss over because the subclass is so fun to play. So I'm gonna start with that. I think the Hexblade has the worst flavor for any warlock. I have seen this subclass played a whole lot, and yet I haven't seen a single person that sticks to canonical lore for the subclass. As a Hexblade, you're supposed to have made a deal with a literal sword from the Shadowfell. We'll get to it someday. Just videos about places take so long to make. And yes, the patron is the weapon. It's not like the patron gives you a weapon, speaks through the weapon. No, the weapon is. Your sword is now your boss, and yes, it is specifically from the Shadowfell. Does this extremely restraining and specific flavor translate well into abilities? Nope. Does your weapon talk and think and feel as part of the subclass? Nope. I mean, I guess it can talk if you want it to, but that's not part of the abilities. Flavor-wise, it just feels like a mess. I just ignore this, and so does everyone I've ever seen play Hexblade. Even people that like the Shadowfell, just the patron is not cool. Fortunately, there's a pretty easy fix to this. Pick any patron you want, say that they gave you a sword. That's it. It's insane to me knowing how popular the Hexblade is that we just didn't get a rework, like a 2024 rework of this. Probably because there's nothing about the Warlock that has changed that affects the Hexblade that much, and it's still in a really, really good place. The main thing about the Hexblade is that it's a martial fighting Warlock. It avoids the trap of being super mad, that's multiple ability dependent. Game design word alert. It avoids this by letting you hit with your charisma. God knows how this works. God and your sword.
I have the power of God and anime on my side!
Wait,
This is massive for the Warlock because sometimes the best option for the Hexblade on a given turn is not to cast Eldritch Blast. Positioning now matters. It gives the Warlock so much more to do and to worry about in a turn. It finally takes the Warlock away from just being a blast bot the whole fight. And whenever someone complains about this for the Warlock, there's always someone that arrives and goes like, well, the only thing you do as a fighter is attack. Yes, positioning matters though. You're a martial fighter. You have to worry about health way more. You have to worry about opportunity attack. You have to worry about your AC, where you're standing in the fight. It's much more complicated to be martial because you're in the thick of fighting. In order to become an actually usable martial fighter, the Hexblade gets a ton of survivability because it's still a D8 hit dice class. It gets access to armor, it gets access to weapons, it gets the ability to like burst down damage paladin style. It's really good. As I said in my rogue video about 100,000 times, I love when subclasses change the way that a class plays completely. They are probably my favorite subclasses every time because I just find them so inventive and they give you a completely different flavor of gameplay for the class that you already love. And what's amazing about the Hexblade is that it's just as competent as any other Warlock when it comes to spellcasting. It's not like it sacrifices this for spellcasting. You can do both. A true Gish. Game design word. Gish is an old D&D term for mixing martial and spells. I would say except for the Genie definitely does spellcasting better. It is the best spellcaster for Warlocks, but you know, you're as good as any of the others and you're also good at martial stuff. So, Pointy hat rating up, good. Shocking, I know. Number 8, Undead. Play Undead if you read the Undying patron and decided otherwise. What do I mean by that? You'll see. It's the spooky one. It's the necromancer guy. Super common subclass type. Nearly every D&D class gets a ghost type subclass. For this one, you make a pact with a deathless being, a creature that defies the cycle of life and death, someone that forsakes its mortal body to pursue unfathomable ambitions. Yes, it's the Lich one. It's the Lich one. Yes, I like it. I never said I was impartial. I made like an entire little book about liches for all the classes and liches for all the arcane schools down below. Yeah, I can plug it. Yeah, it's there. Mechanically, the Hexblade does something that I love to do when I write my own subclasses and that official ones rarely do. I call these subclasses magical girl subclasses. I did one of these in my Warlock video. I made a previous Warlock video. Link somewhere. I gave it away for free, like everything else. It was a dragon patron, because how have we not gotten that yet? Anyway, all these magical girl subclasses are about entering an enhanced state that you can only enter for a set number of times, and it only lasts for a set number of time. This one magical girl thing is called Form of Dread, and basically every subclass ability feeds into the Form of Dread, which is the mark of a good magical girl subclass. Your Form of Dread makes you tankier, it makes you hit harder, it gives you crowd control. It's really solid. It's so solid, in fact, that this guy gets a second magical girl transformation sequence. This is like season 2, and they needed a new doll to sell. The second one is more ethereal, like ghostly undead, as opposed to like zombie undead. And he gets a wild resistance to all the bludgeoning, slashing, piercing damage types. Insane. You're a barbarian now. Congrats. You get secret casting of spells, you get to fly, and you get to combine all of this with your Form of Dread. But guess what? There's a pretty big catch. You leave your body behind. When you enter the second magical girl transformation sequence, your body is just inert. It's completely defenseless. Do you know what they're doing? Your body is a lich's soul jar. You're walking around as a ghost and you need to hide your body somewhere because it's your weak point. They turn the Lich into a playstyle. I don't think that people realize this. I don't think that people give enough props for how cool this idea is. This is just sick. Fantastic work. Pointy hat rating of good. I hope the next one is just as cool. Number I, the Undying. It sucks. Sorry, I have a formula to respect. Let's do the play X if bit. Play Undying if you want to suck. Not like that. Listen, I'm not saying anything that the designers don't agree with already. Like, it's not a coincidence that Undead and Undying, two different subclasses, technically, have the exact same flavor, like exactly the same. The Undead subclass is basically take 2 of the Undying subclass. And boy, did Undying need a second pass. I am not kidding, by the way. Liches are mentioned. It is the same subclass. Think about it as like baby's first 2024 update. Before 2024 was a thing. It came out in Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide in 2015. And then, 6 years later, we got the Undead patron in Van Richten's Guide to Hotel Transylvania. Whereas Undead has a very solid mechanical concept with the magical girl forms, Undying doesn't. It like nods towards support and healing, which is an insane take for the spooky subclass. But sure, healing used to be necromancy at some point. I like that, so whatever, sure, why not? But the healing is just so bad. It's like a pitiful amount of healing. It's only 1d8 plus your con, and only when you're like actively dying. You cannot do it whenever. Oh, and you get spare the dying. Sure. Your capstone is also a pitiful amount of healing, 1d8 plus your warlock level this time, and both of these are once a long rest. Once a long rest. You also get a situational tanking ability, as if you ever were gonna be in the thick of battle, and it's situational because it only works on undead, and even then, with 1,000 caveats. It's just bad. It also has like that weird early 5e jank where like flavor ribbon abilities are mixed in the middle of the abilities. Like there's mention of dismemberment here, which is niche at best, optional at worst, and non-existent in like 99% of tables. Anyway, no need to beat a dead horse. Fine, sorry for trying to bring whimsy into this. I work my ass off like a dog every day. Goof. It's goof, it's bad. Play Undead. So, let's look at a recap of our Pointy Hat rating system. Out of 9 official subclasses, we have Archfey, Fathomless, Fiend, Genie, Great Old One, Hexblade, and Undead in good. And Goof gives us Celestial and Undying. 7 goods and only 2 goofs. One is way less egregious than the other, and the egregious one has been replaced by a way better one. So, pretty good. And now, for the highest honor in the Pointy Hat channel. Our top good of the class is a top Genie for spellcasting, customizability, vibes, and specifically the ability to reduce short rests in exchange for a way less defined playstyle, and Hexblade for literally changing everything about how the class plays, finally fixing the over-reliance on Eldritch Blast, but possibly having the worst flavor out of all the subclasses. So it's a tie. Everyone loves a tie. Everyone loves when like competitions end in ties. But there's something more important than all of this, and it's seeing a warlock in action. And you will if you come see me DM live at PAX Unplugged now, like in 2 weeks. I'm running a game, I'm DMing in public for the first time, and PAX won't stream it, we asked, and it won't record it, so it lives only then. It's just 2 hours, it's on Saturday the 22nd at the Mothman Theater, and it's first come, first serve. Yes, it is completely free. If you have tickets for the convention, you can come in, but we don't know how many people will show up, so show up there kind of early. Genie D is in this, she's playing a warlock, but also Will from D&D Shorts is in this, and Persephoroth from Dimension 20 fame is also in this. I am terrified, I really am, and your presence when I first played as a player in a live game really helped. Like I was like, oh, those people like know me and like me a little bit, so I felt less scared, and I am 10 times more scared of DMing live. But if you've ever been curious as to how I DM, it's the only chance to see it. So come over. Okay, I had to say it. Thank you so much for coming. No more analysis videos. They will be the death of me. The next video should be very easy. That's what would be fair. The link for the free event information, all that stuff, live play is below. Please come. That's comprehensive. I keep doing these very long videos. Really fun. Anyway, it's time we finally do what we came here for. We've gone through the game design principles behind this class. Who plays it, how to play it, what every subclass brings to the table. We've cooked a really nice gumbo. Let's do what we do best. Let's make a brand new Warlock subclass for you to take to your DM so they can emotionally torture you with it for fun. I mean, play. I'm not joking, by the way. I want to hone in on that big time. Warlock is so well served with subclasses that it feels like you can truly get weird with it at this point. I also want to explore a gameplay niche we haven't seen for Warlocks yet. Modes. While the Magical Girl offers you a power-up form you can enter, modes are a bit different. You are generally always in one mode, and your abilities change drastically depending on what mode you're in. This means you basically get 2 playstyles instead of 1, but that would just be too simple. No, it wouldn't be. That's double the work. I'm just stupid and a glutton for punishment apparently. I have a massive 500k video to prepare, and yet I'm doing this to myself? Just too simple. I want to tie it to the Warlock's strengths when it comes to the narrative. That trust in your DM, that passing of the loaded gun to tell a story, that roleplay and narrative identity unique to this class. I want that in the subclass. So, how do we do that? Well, what about a judge? What about a patron that is this omniscient judge of character? Like psychopomps, like lords of the underworld. Your Anubis measuring the weight of a soul against the weight of a feather. Saint Peter at the pearly gates. Karmic justice personified. You have made a deal with an entity that judges you, whether to see if you're worthy of more power, worthy of punishment, or whether to continue helping it further its own goals. Depends on the patron. And depending on its judging, you get access to one set of abilities or another. Picture the Paragon versus Renegade system of Mass Effect, but in D&D, which is not a wild thing to picture since alignment is already a morality system, and it was literally that in 4E. Depending on your standing with your patron, you have one completely different set of abilities or another. But what's the flavor? We need a patron. Let's get into it. Most think of the relationship between a warlock and their patron as transactional. In exchange for wondrous power, the warlock gives away something as important as their mortal soul. But there are patrons that don't offer these bargains in exchange of a soul, but rather to appraise one. Some say that power corrupts. Wiser ones say that power reveals. Those mighty enough to judge those with power seem to agree with the latter. Jailers, lawyers, and peacekeepers have heard of a rare phenomenon where prisoners with an otherwise spotless record that one day commit an incomprehensibly heinous crime might experience a magical awakening while they await trial. The inverse also holds true. Truly reprehensible monsters that decided to listen to a conscience they thought long dead find themselves able to cast spells with no known explanation. Even seemingly unrelated cases are connected to this same phenomenon. It's been linked to people marked to be slaughtered for religious sacrifice, or, as a polar opposite, set to become heir to a seat of power, developing mysterious arcane abilities. The origin of these arcane surges is not sorcerous, as it was often suspected. The magic behind all of these is none other than pact magic. All of these people became warlocks to a judge. A judge is a warlock patron charged with determining if a soul is or isn't worthy. The judge patron is often more than cold. They're completely unclouded by empathy, inhumanly impartial, exacting, and ruthless in their discernment, forever and always, no matter the circumstance. As the strictest of spectators, the judge allows their warlocks only one kindness. They believe, with fervent and unwavering passion, in the warlock's free will. Nobody is the master of anyone else's destiny but themselves, and all of an individual's decisions are theirs to make. Elsewise, they're not decisions at all. That is how a judge and their warlock operate. If a judge has selected a warlock to ascertain the value of their soul and whether it is worthy, one question remains. Worthy of what? Okay, but imagine, your patron is this unknowable judge that sees you as either guilty or innocent. While considered guilty, you are all about burst damage and subterfuge. While considered innocent, you're all about support and tank, with an emphasis on being the face of the party. You get to influence which side you are on depending on the abilities and spells you use. So, using certain abilities and spells will shift you from one mode to the other, but your DM is playing as the judge and can shift the mode you're on at any point based on your patron's feelings regarding your choices. What if you have literal trials inside of your mind where you have to defend your actions in front of the judge? What if what your patron considers good is not what you believe in? It turbocharges the uniqueness of the narrative potential of the warlock, and it gives a completely new playstyle to the class with its modes. I think it'd be really fun if it existed past this little thought exercise. And it could, if you make a contract with me. That's right, I'll give you the Judge Patron Warlock subclass for 100% Pointy Hat certified free if you click on it. It's there. It's there. It's in the description for free. I'm very bad at being an evil patron. Thank God I make videos. And the next one will come out 3 weeks, not 2, from now. Friday the 9th of December. Why the extra time? You'll see. But I invite you to take a look-see at the sub count on this channel as well as the number of videos uploaded to get an inkling for the reason, yep, got myself into making the biggest project this channel has ever seen. Again. I'm dying. Anyway, back to the Warlock. I understand this is not for everyone. There's people out there that wouldn't like this. That's okay. Not all subclasses have to be for everybody. But if this one isn't, maybe this one is. How about my previous video on Warlocks? That one has a magical girl dragon subclass in it. Yes, it does. And it's free too. And if Warlocks are not your thing, might I suggest my previous analysis on the Rogue class? Equally as edgy as the Warlock, but in a completely unique way. And it also comes with a subclass. Alright, don't say anything without reading it first. Bye! Come see me DM at PAX. I am very scared. Mwah!